So with you.
I think it's interesting to say, we want to think about, national, particularly after, this recent election, we want to think about, national emergencies when I think a lot of communities have had a national emergency in relationship to housing. We see encampments throughout our region, including on this island. And considering Alameda's own history of land use policies, which judges have ruled have been discriminatory, it's interesting to see, the first item after this election related to housing is in response to a methodology that emphasizes equity. So, briefly, after the housing element law was passed, HOPE, Housing Opportunities Provided Equally, was trying to push the city to adopt a housing element, and the city resisted that. And then from 1990 to 2012, the city didn't have a compliant housing element. If you recall, the guidance suit, part of that related to RHNA numbers, right? And so there's this whole long history of this city not being concerned with equity. And now we're going to attempt to use the climate crisis, which disproportionately impacts lower income people with social vulnerabilities like housing, to try to say Alameda is somehow the only or uniquely, should be uniquely exempted from this, or perhaps not uniquely exempted, but join cities like Pleasanton, which was sued for its housing policies a decade ago. And so this is not to denigrate residents of Pleasanton and some of these other cities, the Tri-Valley, but I would discourage Alameda from going back to that path of not considering equity and locally, and certainly not joining regionally to try to change the formula or change the methodology. If there's concern about process, make it about process, but don't use it under the guise to change the outcome. So when equity is finally emphasized, don't seek to change the formula to reduce the allocation. Alameda is an island, but it is not isolated from our region, and it should finally be involved in contributing its fair share.
Thank you, Mr.